So, you want to find a way to buy SpaceX stocks? You think SpaceX will be worth a lot of money when it will IPO? You love Elon Musk and everything he does? Then you've came to the right place. In this video, I will tell you about 5 ways you can get exposure or even buy SpaceX stocks directly yourself before it will IPO. SpaceX is a much hyped company that a couple of days ago raised $750 million at a $137 billion valuation. This comes just after a $250 million round in July, then valuing the company at $127 billion. Now, can we as small-time investors get in on the action? Well, there are a couple of ways. Number 1, we can buy stocks that are traded on the stock exchange from the company that invested the most in SpaceX. When we look at the companies that in early 2022 were the largest shareholders, the top 3 is 1. Elon Musk with 43%, he is of course not a company. 2. Google with 6.9%, and 3. The Founders Funds with 5.7%. Also in the last fundraising, Andreessen Horowitz supposedly made a large investment in the company. Out of all these names, there is only one that is publicly traded, and that is Google. Now, Google owning around 7% of SpaceX gives you a 7% exposure into SpaceX. Besides that, you get the value of the Alphabet company as a bonus. It is very well possible that you already own Alphabet stocks, but you never knew that they had such a large investment in SpaceX. Let me know in the comments down below if you knew. And since Alphabet is a well-run company, it doesn't seem such a bad trade-off. Another way of investing into SpaceX is using a pre-IPO secondary market. Now, what is a pre-IPO secondary market, you might say? Well, pre-IPO marketplaces acquire shares from early investors and employees who have received shares through things like stock options. And you may be able to buy these stocks through these marketplaces. As an example, I have EquityZen here that talks about SpaceX and how they provide these shares. But I must warn you, only after registering and opening an account, you will see if shares are really available. You may also need a minimum level of income and investment experience to qualify for an account. And there may even be other criteria, like with Forge Global, the minimum investment is $100,000. And with EquityZen, it's $10,000 or potentially higher for some shares. I have here a list of companies that provide such services or comparable services. If you want more information about them, I'll link them all down below. You can also invest in funds that hold just a small share of SpaceX. Strangely but true, a lot of Scottish funds are hedging their bets on SpaceX. A Scottish company like Baillie Gifford has a small stake in SpaceX. It says here on their site that 6% of their funds is comprised of SpaceX. Then we have the Scottish Mortgage Investment Trust. This company, as you can see here, holds about 3.2% of its assets in SpaceX stocks, together with some other very interesting names. The last thing you can do is have a look at partners, collaborators and competitors between SpaceX and other companies. For example, SpaceX has partners with Google Cloud Platform and Microsoft Azure to provide on-ground computer and networking services for Starlink. As SpaceX and Starlink grows, their use of their technologies also grows. So again, Google seems a good investment, but maybe Microsoft is a good one as well. If you don't want to wait for the IPO, but need that space exposure in your portfolio because you think space will be the next big thing, you can have a look at their competitors that are currently trading on the public market. Companies include Planet Labs, a satellite company, or Rocket Lab, a company that provides launch services and space system solutions for the space and defense industries, and of course Virgin Galactic, the space tourism company. If you like space in general but don't want to pick companies yourself, you can always invest in an ETF like the ArcX Space Exploration Innovation ETF that will give you exposure to a lot of space-related companies without you having to search and buy every stock individually. If you don't like ARK Invest and Katie Wood, then I can recommend iShares US Eurospace and Defense ETF or the Procure Space ETF with the great ticker symbol UFO. Now, would I recommend you into buying SpaceX stocks? Well, I found this really interesting article about an expert that tries to put a revenue number on SpaceX and its Starlink's business. Let's have a look at it. So revenue in 2020 of $3.2 billion for a company that is valued to $137 billion, a company that is still not making any profits, hence the fundraising, and still has a lot of work cut out into scaling its Starlink vertical, because that is where I think the money could be made. But Starlink needs to cut prices drastically to make it interesting as a real alternative for anybody using a standard internet connection at the moment. And they will have to do this in a way that they can make a profit. Paying 137 billion for this right now just seems crazy to me. I mean, it's possible that this company might be worth that much later on, but until we see some real figures, we can't really know. If these assumptions are correct, I cannot recommend anybody into buying into this company. A more interesting company would be OpenAI that made the ChatGPT bot. And then I would recommend you to watch this video.